quick shout out to our sponsor before we dive in. Managing livestock and commodities hauls just got easier. Roll On Dispatch is a streamlined trucking software platform built to help you save time and reduce paperwork. From quickly finding the right driver and dispatching loads to automating invoicing, everything happens in one easy-to-use app. A connected driver app is available for iOS and Android to keep communication between the office and the road seamless. And with QuickBooks integration, managing your fleet and finances is more efficient than ever. Whether you're growing your business or lightening your workload, Roll On Dispatch helps you focus on what matters most. Visit rollondispatch.com today and experience the future of dispatching. Welcome to the Rural Dispatch, the podcast delivering stories from rural America. I'm your host, Allie Behrens. Headquartered in rural Iowa, I help run a nationwide livestock transportation company, and I'm here to bring you stories from the people who help shape this industry and our rural communities. Whether you're a trucker, livestock producer, or rural entrepreneur, this show is for you. Each week, we explore the realities of rural business life, from the highways to the fields and everything in between. So buckle up and let's dive into today's episode. Today, I am joined by Ashley Brincks, and she has worn a lot of hats in the agriculture industry. So I'm excited for you all to hear her story. Welcome to the podcast, Ashley.
Thank you for having me, Allie.
Okay, so let's start with your background. Did you grow up on a farm?
Yes, I grew up on our family farm. We have cattle and row crops. I am the youngest of 3 girls, so my 2 older sisters are 5 and 8 years older than me. I guess you could say that's where my love for agriculture started because they're so much older than me. They kind of went and did their own thing, and I just hung back with my dad. They were like, "You're too little to play with us." So I was like, okay, well, I'll go ride in the tractor or go haul cows or whatever with dad, and it's just kind of where I got to start. So I've loved agriculture ever since. I grew up going to cattle sales with my dad and co-ops on Saturday morning, and all the older men would, give me snacks and treats, and it was just a really fun time hanging out there.
I love that. Well, and you're such a girly girl too, which is funny because like the women you see involved in ag are just, they lean into like they're in a male dominated field and they lean into it.
Yeah, that's not me.
No.
I love the color pink. It's so funny that you say that. Last fall, I was at work and I was out in a field and I had on a pink puffer vest and pink Vans. And I was out looking at cover crops, and a producer pulled up and he was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I said, "Just looking at your rye."
He's like, really "Are you lost?"
Yeah, he was like, "Oh no, she has a flat tire and she needs help." It's like, no, just checking. It looks really good, and just had that conversation. And then it turned into, "Oh yeah, I know your dad, and you didn't grow up far from here," and what it always turns into. So that's just such a funny part of my life, I guess.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you do for work.
I am a project coordinator for the Iowa Working Lands Project here in Carroll County.
Okay.
So what I do is I work with local producers in Carroll County. I help create seeding plans and rotational grazing systems, just to name a few. So producers that have pastures that are continuously grazed, we really work towards making rotational grazing systems out of those. So what that would look like is different paddocks to help improve the grasses and the soil health. So obviously that all goes back to conservation. And I help educate producers on management of those grasses and their forage so they get the best bang for their buck out of the pasture that they're utilizing. On the flip side, working with cover crops, annual forages, pasture, hayland seedings, and providing guidance on seeding mixes, soil health, erosion control, different things like that, which are all helping to meet those needs from the nutrient reduction strategy, which is what we are operating on with the project.
And for people listening, so each county has their own office, right?
Each county has their own office. There are only 8 counties in the state that have this project
Okay.
as of right now. So at this time, we operate in Carroll, Cherokee, Ida, Guthrie, Page, Taylor, Woodbury, and Adams County.
Okay.
So it originated in Taylor County and has expanded. So we hope to keep growing that. It is grant funded. So we are operating with limited funds. So that is what has kind of been a barrier to expanding, but it has had such positive feedback and is very sought after. It provides a lot of assistance to producers, and especially producers that haven't always had that assistance available to them. So we are helping to provide those resources, whether it be technical assistance or financial assistance, to help them achieve their goals.
Okay, so what does your day-to-day look like?
So my day-to-day, no 2 days are the same for me, and that is what I love about my job. I work with livestock producers, primarily cattle producers, so cow-calf or feedlot producers, and they both have a different dynamic with what I'm working with.
How do you know this stuff?
I'm going to be honest, I didn't, and that's just part of, my entire experience. I didn't know. So I went to school at Northwest Missouri State, and I have a degree in animal science. So I know the animal science aspect.
Okay.
I knew that.
You know the cattle.
Yes. Like I said, I grew up
Yep.
just right along with my dad. He always told me, he's like, you're going to learn more in a sale barn than you will at school. So I grew up going to sale barns with my dad. So I kind of learned that side of things, but not necessarily the grazing side. We have a feedlot, so I really grew up just, working with steers and, vaccinating and different things like that. A lot of moving cattle around. So when it came to designing grazing systems, that was something that was completely new to me. And I just jumped head first. And I am very grateful because I have a lot of really good people to teach me in my office, and they have provided a lot of resources for me, which has been a huge opportunity for me to learn over the past 2 years now. So that's just something that I'm very grateful to have, is those different opportunities to grow and learn in my field. But not only that, that's something I can take home to our own farm, or, if one of my friends has a question about, okay, how would you implement this? How would you seed these acres, or what would you seed these acres to? I can now provide those recommendations because I have the ability to work with other livestock producers and get their input, as well as going to workshops and learning from, I would say, professionals or educators. I do that for a living.
Yeah. Just like in the classroom, you can get the professional training, but seeing the actual operations, and it's like being in the sale barn, right? You almost learn more from being out at these places and working with these producers than you do sitting in a classroom.
100%. I learn more from the producer than I feel I will ever teach anyone, if I am being honest. I just have such a privilege of learning so many different things from so many different producers and getting just different perspectives on different situations that I've not had in the past. So I don't know. It's just such a great opportunity to learn from other people where, like you said, in the classroom, it was very textbook, this is what you should learn. This is what it is. What the textbook says is not necessarily how the real world works.
Right.
And I'll be the first person to tell you that. Not that I love education. Don't love textbooks.
Yes. Well, I feel like if you are the type of person that doesn't work in an office every day, you're probably weren't the best student either. Is that a fair assessment?
I did not like school. I did not. No, I wanted to be with my dad. I wanted to be on the farm. If my dad was out hauling cows with somebody else, I was like, well, why can't I go with you? You would sit and have me do stuff at the sale barn. I feel like I probably learned more about math sitting in a sale barn and running numbers for my dad than I did in a math class.
Absolutely. I believe it. Why don't you tell us what all you're involved in?
Yeah, so currently I am a part of the Iowa Cattlemen's Leadership Program, and I started that back in January, and it has been a great opportunity. It's been really fun, a lot of really good networking opportunities, and a lot of really good opportunities for education. So that's funny that you say that because you're like, maybe not a good student. Not a good student because I don't want to read a textbook. I want to be hands-on. I love learning things hands-on from a producer. I will learn more if you bring me to your operation rather than just writing it out and saying, this is what I want, put it on a piece of paper. I like to go and I like to see things, lay my hands on it, and visualize it while I'm standing there with you. And then we can work through things. So with Cattlemen's Leadership, it has given me the opportunity to get to know people from all across the state. And honestly, we've been to Colorado this year. Next week, we're going to DC. So it's provided a lot of different opportunities to expand my own leadership, communication skills, networking skills. There's just been an abundance of opportunities surrounding that I would have never guessed when I first applied to be part of the group.
Yeah, because who actually knows what they're getting into when they sign up for these things, right? I don't know. How did you get involved in that?
So last summer, I was asked to be a speaker at one of their events.
Okay.
I did not know what it was. My boss was like, hey, on this date, get in the truck. We're going to go and speak to this group. It's like, okay, what do you want me to talk about? You know?
Right.
And he's like, your job, grazing systems and annual forages, cover crops. And I was like, okay, I'll do my best. And we went there and it was a really great opportunity. It was hosted at a producer that I've worked with in the past at their farm. So very great people. So they were very inviting. So that was my first exposure to Iowa Cattlemen's Leadership. And then, so fast forward to probably November of last year, I saw the application. Thought, what the heck? I'll give it a try. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm busy enough.
Right. Yes.
And then I got a call that I was accepted into the program and we were going to start in January.
See, I was wondering how this happened because this could go one of two ways. A lot of people kind of need a nudge to like go and do these things and step outside of their comfort zone and leave the farm, so to speak. So we both went to Northwest Missouri State, and I started an alumni chapter for Northwest in the Carroll area. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but somehow you became my co-leader, which I love so much. We need to do better about.
We're just laughing on that.
We're busy people. Okay. Well, and everybody else is busy too. It's really hard to find a time of year that works for people. We'll do better next year.
We'll try. If you're listening, anyone with Northwest alumni, we will do better.
Yes. But anyway, so you're kind of that outgoing person that is like, I'll try it.
Yeah.
So,
I was not always like that. That's really funny that you bring that up. When I was little, I was afraid of my own shadow.
No way.
Yeah. No, you could not get me to speak.
This is hard to believe.
I know. I was like, she's not going to believe me. I've thought about this all week. I was like, I'm going to tell Allie that I didn't like to speak and she's not going to believe me. And then what? Yeah, no, I did not. I distinctly remember there are so many times that I'd be at a sale barn with my dad and, you know, the guy next to my dad would be like, here's $1, go get some M&Ms or go get a treat. And I'd be like, I don't know you. No, I'm scared. You know, Dad, talk to this guy for me so I don't have to. And I distinctly remember a Christmas concert also when I just was so scared to leave my mom and dad to go up on stage. And it was just an all-out panic because I didn't like to speak. I didn't like to be in front of people. I didn't want to get far from my mom or my dad or my sisters. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's because I was the youngest and I just always had my sisters there with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was shocked.
How did you get to be so outgoing and confident?
I don't know.
How did this happen?
I don't know. When I was in college, my mom passed away the day before Thanksgiving, my freshman year of college, unexpectedly. So that's another big reason why I am so close with my dad. I've always been close with my dad, but having that happen, and I was 2.5 hours away in Maryville, and I do feel like I have a different outlook on life because I was so young. when it happened. And, there were a lot of things that had to happen after that shaped me into the person that I am today, right? And so that was a big thing with my Miss United States agriculture, actually. I was competing and I was up on stage that day. We did on-stage introductions. And because I did not like to be on stage. Still at that time, I did not like to speak. I did not like to be on stage. I didn't want to be in front of anyone. Leave me alone. So why I did that, I have no idea. But I was up on stage. I went down to my sisters and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. We're in Florida. Let's go to the beach. Like, we can leave. We can just go. No one has to know. We'll tell people I got sick. It's fine. They're like, no, Ashley, you have to do it. And it's an all-day event. My dad was up in his room and he's taking a nap. And I looked at my sisters and I was like, do not wake him up. I do not want him to be here for the downfall of his baby girl. I don't want him to see it. And one of the directors had heard that and she was, go get your dad. Go get your dad. And so they went and got dad. And I was so mad. I was like, I told you not to wake him up and to watch this. So before crowning, it was evening wear and onstage question. So we picked our question out of a fishbowl. And the question that I got was, if you could have supper with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be? And without even thinking for a moment, I said, my mom. And then I was like, oh, wait, I have to keep going. There has to be more to this.
Yep.
And I said, I would have supper with my mom. And I would ask her all of the things that I never got to. And, life advice. Honestly, a couple of recipes I would like to have. So just having that experience, those words just came so naturally to me. And I was standing up there and I remember just giving my answer and I looked out and people in the crowd were crying. And I was like, why is everyone crying? It was just so natural to me because I've thought about it so often. Like, if I could see my mom,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. 2 takeaways from that story. The fact that you won and you thought that you didn't even stand a chance. Amazing. Like, what a good reminder that even the best in the room doubt themselves. And just such a powerful reminder to cherish the ones close to you. Because when it comes down to it, like, that's what's important, right? Is your loved ones.
A lot of the things that I do now, I write down because, like I said, I don't have children, but someday I really hope to. And I want to have these recipes written down, or I want to have these memories. So I have albums and albums full of photos. And I write on the back of every photo where it was taken, who was in it, the date, all of the information. Will my kids look at this someday and be like, I don't want my mom's crap? Maybe.
I love that you do that. I wish I was better at doing that. I need to be better at doing that.
It's little things like that, again, that have shaped me into the person that I am, obviously going through these different life experiences. And truly, when I think back at it, I think the reason I wanted to compete in that pageant was to make my mom proud because she knew I was afraid of my own shadow. She knew that I was shy and she would have just been so proud of me for even just contemplating the idea of getting on a stage and being in front of people after being afraid to sing at a Christmas concert to standing alone on a stage and answering a question out of a fishbowl that I couldn't prepare for.
Right. That is honestly such an amazing story. There are so many takeaways from that. I love that you shared that with us.
You can't have me without the stories that have shaped me to who I am.
Yeah. If half of these things had not happened, you would not be the same person. I can guarantee it.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, would I love to see the person I would be if my mom hadn't passed? Absolutely. 100%. But I'm very much everything happens for a reason type person. And the people that you meet, you might not know the reason that you're meeting them. At that time, you might not know that. But at some point, you'll look back and realize, okay, well, that person taught me this lesson, or that experience taught me this lesson. Do I know what lesson I learned from my mom passing?
No. You probably never will.
I probably never will. But I would hope that it's made a positive impact on other people's lives because of the person that it's made me. So I hope that other people can take my story and say, okay, well, if she could do hard things, I can too.
I think your mom would be really proud of you.
It's so funny. We were not in sports when we were younger because my dad's like, okay, like I need
we
your
have
help,
the farm.
you know?
Yeah.
So I did not do any sports at all my entire life. So I'm not a sports person. But I was in FFA. And when I was in high school, I got a different ag teacher. And that new ag teacher made me do prepared public speaking. And I was not a fan. I did not enjoy that. And he forced me to get out of my comfort zone. And on that same note, I actually was just talking to a lady the other day at work, and she happens to know one of my best friends. And she was like, oh, how do you know her? She's not from around here. She's actually from Westphalia. And I said, oh, when I was a sophomore in high school, we had to go to an FFA contest. She was like, okay. And I said, my advisor made me sit at a table of girls that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know them. And he was like, you're going to go sit by them. And I was like, please don't make me do that. I don't know them. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And he said, you're going to do it. Go sit by them. And from that day, I have had Jamie as just one of my closest friends. And our relationship has only grown since then. So maybe it was my ag teacher that forced me to get out of my comfort zone.
Isn't that funny that how like one person can have such an influence on how everything unfolds,
Yes.
like the rest of your life?
It's actually really funny. So once I competed in Miss United States Agriculture, I went to nationals, won my division at nationals, and I was at the Carroll County Fair. And that same ag teacher texted me from across the show ring, and he said, Ashley, your crown is crooked. And I was just shocked. I was like, oh, I didn't expect that, but thank you for letting me know. I will try and fix it. It's just, it was a very full circle moment for me.
That just goes to show how important teachers, but especially ag teachers and advisors are. Like, I have a similar experience with my FFA advisor. Like, she pushed me to be completely out of my comfort zone. And honestly, some people need that. Some kids really need that.
I was that kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I would not. Oh no, I don't want to give all of the credit to him, but maybe he's, he's the reason I'm here today, doing what I do. So yeah, when I competed in Miss United States Agriculture, I had never done, I did the Carroll County Fair Queen. I got runner up. I did not go back because I was scared. I was like, okay, well, that's my answer. I didn't win. Like, heaven forbid, the girl that won just was more prepared or had better communication skills at that when I was 16 years old.
The judges thought she's a senior and Ashley has another year to come back and compete, and then you didn't come back. I'm sure that's what happened.
I cannot confirm that. I don't know. So I will say, after my experience with Miss United States Agriculture, I have been asked to judge other pageants. So I do that in my free time. Only when asked, I don't publicize. I'm very busy. So I will go back and judge pageants. And that's just given me a different perspective also. Because I see all of these young women truly doing their best. And they are doing everything they can. They are putting themselves out there. We do interviews, and it's scary. You're in a room with 3 or 4 other judges, and you don't know what to expect. There's usually, one from the industry, one outside of the industry, and then a random person, right? So there are always different backgrounds. So you as the contestant, never know the questions you're going to get. And the most interesting thing is you never know how you're supposed to answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going into a job interview, you can look at the job description and say, okay, well, this is what they want to hear. You can't do that for a pageant.
No.
And it's very character-based questions. So every answer is going to be different. There is not a script. I don't know. Maybe ChatGPT wasn't around when I did this.
Right?
So maybe now there is. I don't know. But it just provides a different perspective, sitting on the other side of the table and being the one to ask those questions and seeing how vulnerable those young girls are. And they truly put themselves out there. They do the best they can. And sometimes it is just by 1 point that one person wins over someone else. Just 1 point is all it took, just because, one of the judges thought, okay, maybe this one was better prepared for that interview question, or this one was better prepared for their on-stage question. You never know what it's going to be.
Right.
So sometimes it truly is just a matter of 1 point, level playing field, just maybe one got a few extra minutes of sleep the night before.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I mean, it could just be personalities. Like, everybody connects with different people, some people better than others. I mean, it could just come down to likability of the person doing the interview, which, I mean, that's real life too, right?
Yeah.
You just have to find the people that you mesh with to build that relationship on. So,
yeah. And yeah, like you said, that's with anything in life. You never know who your audience is going to be. So you should always be prepared to speak in a message that can be well received, right? Not always the message that you believe is cut and dry.
mm-hmm. I so appreciate you saying that, because it's just messaging, right? It's how you say it, not what you say so much. Just being careful to say what you mean in a way that isn't going to turn someone off to you. I mean, we've all met those people, right, that are loud and opinionated, and you might agree with what they said, but not how they came off.
So going back on your point with, louder opinions are sometimes the one that gets heard the most. And that's a lot of what I strive for. I love ag advocacy. Ag advocacy that was my favorite class in college. Unpopular opinion. Most people did not enjoy that class. And I really did. I have a giant binder and I still have it. And every week we had to go through and find 5 articles of current events in agriculture. And we had to assess the article. So whether it was, what was the author trying to get across? What point were they trying to make? How does their writing affect how someone else will understand this? How will the message be portrayed by the reader? And I loved that class because it provided a different perspective to me. And it truly taught me that your message has to be very precise. But I truly learned that if you want someone to believe your message, you have to be very clear about what you're saying. Fluff is not what you want, especially in the industry that we're in. Essentially, we work for the consumer, right? Everything we do is to meet consumer needs. So if they are leaning in one direction of, okay, we don't want antibiotics, or we don't want growth hormones, or any other hot label that is, in the news that week, we don't want to deflect. I have been taught that you address it, but you also educate in the same way. So we're not just going to say, no, we don't give our livestock growth hormones.
Yes.
That's not providing valuable information or education to the consumer, and that's not helping other producers either. You want to give the consumer the education to make their own informed decision at the end of the day. And that's what I do for my job too, where I will never tell someone, okay, well, this is what you have to do. I'll tell you that you have to do that to meet the requirements. But if your goals don't align with what we're working towards, that's okay. I'm not going to tell you you can't do it, but I will help provide the information and assistance to get you where you need to be or where you want to be with your operation or with your decision making. It all, again, goes back to education and advocating for yourself and the producers that you're working with or working for.
I love that people like you get involved in these things and actually help make a difference for educating consumers. And I mean, that's what Iowa Cattlemen's works towards. And those are really important things for producers to be involved in, right? Because that's how things get done.
Right.
And if you disagree with something and you want your voice heard, then you need to have your voice be heard. You have to step off the farm and have those conversations.
And that's, again, one of the biggest things that I feel I'm working towards, no matter what aspect, I'm looking at in my life, whether it's Iowa Cattlemen's leadership or my actual career. I want to be a voice for the producer. If something isn't right, something needs to be done about it. There needs to be changes made. I might not be the person that can make those changes, but I will sure be a voice for you. And I will get your message to whomever can help. It might not be me, but if it's someone else down the road and I know them from networking, then I will get that message to them. That's a big passion of mine. I know working with producers, they're not always the most vocal people.
Well, they have a lot going on, right? They're running businesses. A farm is really a 24/7 operation. If you're not in the field or in the shop, you're probably catching up on book work. I mean, there's just always a constant to-do list, and to step away is really difficult for people, especially if you don't have help. If you're a one-man show or just a family operation, that's really hard to do. But people like you who go to these different operations, and I love that ag professionals get involved just as much as the producers do, because I think that's an important side of things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would totally agree. I hope that the people that I work with truly do see that what I do for work is not just a job. And that maybe sounds a little cheesy, and this is something I've said since the beginning. When a producer comes up to the counter, I treat them the way that I would want someone to treat my dad. I see a lot of different people. I work with a lot of different people. Sometimes I catch them on a bad day. You know what the markets look like. So it's kind of hit or miss sometimes, but I try and treat them the way that I would want someone else to treat my dad if he came in with a question. And that's just very important to me because no one knows everything.
Right.
No one person has all of the answers. And I will say the producers that I work with give me a lot of grace because I'll be like, oh, hey, I'm not quite sure, of the answer to that. Let me run and get you the person who can answer that. Or if there isn't someone who can answer that, let me take a message. I'll find the answer for you and I'll get back to you.
Yes. But I think people really appreciate that too, right? Like, I don't know the answer, but I will find you the answer. And just taking that off their plate, like, okay, somebody else is going to, I've passed this baton. They're going to get back to me. Like, that is huge for people who are doing a million things.
Yes. And that's another reason to be networking. So you're not just relying on people in a certain building, right? You're not just like, okay, well, let me go and ask FSA, NRCS, Farm Credit, my banker. Let me go ask them my question. They're going to have the answer. They might have an answer, but it might not be the answer that you want. So the best thing that you can do, in my opinion, is go out and do different workshops. Go out and meet new people. Obviously, going to a cattle sale, going to a coffee shop, that's great. You're going to hear
the opinions of your neighbors.
All of the neighborhood, yes, which is great because you're still learning other people's opinions. But there are also opportunities to learn that are from Iowa State University Extension, SDSU Extension.
Resources, yes.
Yes, there are so many different resources that you can refer to with these questions. And they provide the knowledge and the information, as does NRCS, as does all of these different entities. They're all going to provide you with wonderful information, but it's so good to be able to go to a workshop and learn that information from other people in the industry, whether it's producer panels. I was just at a workshop a couple of weeks ago that was over in Castana, put on by ISU Extension with a couple of different other state extensions. And it was very interesting. It was an annual forage workshop, and they brought in 2 guys from Texas to talk about these annual forages, specifically some sorghum and sorghum Sudan grasses. And that was very interesting to me to get their different perspective.
I just have to say, like, this is the difference in someone who loves what they do in their industry and someone who's just showing up to a job, because you are really providing value to the people you work with and not just showing up and checking the boxes. And, on this podcast, we have a lot of guests who are business owners or farmers or livestock producers. They are the ones with their skin in the game. Whereas you're getting a paycheck, right? But it's not like your baby. But the ag industry is your baby. Like, you're very passionate about it, which I love. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of this podcast is we're passionate about agriculture and the trucking side of it specifically. And there's nothing out there for livestock haulers. And so that's the whole point of this. We get a lot of livestock producers that listen too, and just being able to bring value and a little bit of entertainment, right? Like, we all know that things don't go smoothly every day. So that we're able to laugh about it is important. But, it's a tough industry emotionally, physically, financially, all the things. And, a lot of the people that are involved in these industries are listeners, but people that have nothing to do with it listen as well. And just getting people to know the types of people that we're talking about, it goes back to educating the consumer, and everyone's doing their best. You're actively working in conservation and best practices. And like you said earlier, nobody knows everything. We're all just trying to do a better job than our grandparents did.
Wouldn't you say that it's also a privilege to be in the industry?
Oh, it is absolutely a privilege.
It's something that not everyone gets to do. And I truly could not imagine not being part of the industry in some way. No matter what, I will always work in the industry. I will work on the farm, what have you. It doesn't matter. I will be part of the industry because the agriculture industry is truly what made me into the person I am today. Obviously, it made me find my voice from going from the shy kid to now you cannot just stop talking.
What would you do if you were not in ag?
I would be an esthetician.
Okay. Interesting. Didn't see that coming.
No, I love all things that are just self-care. And maybe it's because I'm so busy or just maybe an alter ego of mine. I have had people come in the office and they will leave and they'll call my dad and say, Ashley's just always all dolled up. And I'm just like, I'm just going to work,
Yeah.
but then you see me as a completely different person. If I'm, on our farm or loading cattle, obviously I don't look the same as if you see me running around town. But yeah, I would absolutely be an esthetician. What would you do?
Oh, gosh. That's a really good question. I don't even know. Okay.
You've never thought about it?
I did think about it because I left ag for 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. I hated it. So I went into the financial services industry, which I was sort of already, I was already a loan officer, but I specifically only loaned money for cattle. So it was a very niche lending job. And so I thought that I liked the financial side of things. Turns out I liked the agriculture side of things.
Right.
So yeah, I pivoted and went, and I thought working in a small rural community, it would be fine. But I did not like being a financial advisor at all. I hated it. So I truly don't know what I would do. I don't have a clue. I would be lost.
I would too. I say I would be an esthetician, but there's always that. I've previously not worked in the industry, and every time I just keep coming back. It just is truly a part of me. So I would still, again, have to have, be farming on the side or something if I was going to pursue a career not in ag.
Okay, I just remembered something actually. And this, I don't know if this would hold true, but I do remember like when I did the Fair Queen contest in high school, they asked the question like, what do you want to do? And I said go into law enforcement.
I could see that.
So my dad was a sheriff's deputy my entire life. He was the sheriff like my last 4 years of high school and then into college. So that's what he always did. That would maybe be a backup. I don't know.
I could see you in law enforcement, actually. Two completely different.
Yes, very different.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank God for my FFA advisor who made me want to pursue a degree in agriculture. But she's actually why I went to Northwest Missouri State, too. That's where she went to college. Like, that's how I ended up there. Because I always thought I would be an Ames girl. Like, just that's what everybody does.
That's so funny that you say that. That's exactly what I did not want to do. I did not want to be in the same... I didn't want to feel like I was still in high school, I guess, that I was still with the same people. And nothing against, obviously anyone that did go to Iowa State.
Right.
Clearly everyone made other friends. But, when you're in high school, you're like, oh, well, I just want to, do something different. And that's why I went to Northwest. I knew 2 people there when I went, and one of them was one of my classmates. He also went to West for ag. But other than that, I didn't know anyone. So and now, unfortunately, most of my friends live, in southern Iowa or Missouri. So that is the downfall of going to school elsewhere. But
yeah, well, and that's what I was the same way. I knew everyone that was going to Iowa State and not even from my hometown. I knew people from across the state and everybody was going to Iowa State. And I was like, I need to meet new people. And I really liked the size of Northwest. And I'm really glad that that's where I chose to go, even though it was like the scary thing to do at the time. And it's so funny now. Like, I met so many people in college that I moved to Carroll, and I was like, I don't know anybody in Carroll. And there's so many people that I went to school with that live in the area. It's like, oh, this is crazy. So it's funny where life takes you. You just never know what's going to happen.
And we wouldn't have met each other.
Yeah. And it's such a small world. Who knew?
But yeah, I just really appreciate everyone I work with and just everyone in the industry and obviously outside of the industry too, because everyone is connected to agriculture in some way, whether they know it and or want to admit it. They are connected to agriculture. They may not have access to a farm that they can go to regularly or even go to a farm once. I worked with an intern at my previous job, and she was from California. She lived at the time in Ohio. She was going to school in Ohio. She had never been to a farm before, ever. She'd never seen a cow before. She met the right person.
Yeah, I would say.
And one day after work, I was like, get in my car. I have to show you something. She was like, okay. We went to my friend Colin's house, and she got to bottle feed a baby calf. And she was like, show my mom. Send this to my mom. I'm so excited. This is not real. And we just did so many things that summer to show her the industry and ag. And I had so much fun teaching her. She had fun learning. And she got to leave knowing more about the Midwest and agriculture. And that's not something she would have had an opportunity to do had she, stayed in California with where her parents live in California. So she wouldn't have had that exposure.
Yeah. And you forget that living in the Midwest because, our big cities are still surrounded by cornfields, right? Like you still, even if you're in Des Moines or Omaha, you've still seen livestock. Like also the Midwest, we drive everywhere, right? So you're bound to like get out of the city at least once in your life and, see what corn looks like up close. But that is such a valuable experience. And that she absolutely gained an appreciation for agriculture that she wouldn't have had otherwise. And even ourselves, like we went to South Africa a few years ago and we toured a pineapple farm. I had no idea that pineapple didn't grow on a tree. Like, sounds very ignorant for someone that's involved in ag, but like, we don't deal with pineapples here. How would I know that?
Yeah.
And so you kind of take that perspective and you transfer it to everyone else in the world. And when you put yourself in their shoes, it's like, oh, well, no wonder they don't get it.
Right. And that all goes back to really educating the consumer, because it's our responsibility to get our message out there. Social media is not going to give the whole story. It's not always going to paint the whole picture. It can be very skewed in either direction, either very pro-ag or very anti-ag.
Yes.
And that's just how things are. So as producers and as industry professionals, it is our responsibility to advocate for what message we want out there.
We've said that before on here. Like, there's a reason for everything, right? You might not understand it looking from the outside, but walk a mile in their shoes and it's going to become a lot more clear.
Right.
Okay, so do you help on the farm at all?
I do.
Okay.
I go to my office job at between 7 and 7:30 every morning. I do my job all day long. I go home, grab my dog, and we go out to the farm. Our farm is 7 minutes away from my house in town, so it's very convenient.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, so you have 2 older sisters. Are you the only one that's still involved, or are they involved too?
They are not. So we all work in some sort of public service. My oldest sister is a nurse. My other sister is a social worker. So we all work with very different dynamics. So we always, it's funny, well, my dad will be like, oh, I need help doing this. And I'm like, that's not my department. You need to contact the child that went to school for that. That's if it's not ag, that's not my department. So yeah, obviously they come around. I have a nephew, so they'll come out to the farm. And obviously my nephew loves to see the cattle and play in the rock pile and everything else.
Boy things.
Do boy things. Mm-hmm. And my dad never had boys. So he's like,
I'm sure he loves
really
it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am the only one that is out there every day. Obviously, that's what I went to school for. That's what I love. So my sisters, I think, were kind of like, you want to do it? Mm-hmm. More power to you. So I much prefer livestock over row crop. Again, my degree is in animal science. I don't think 2 cows look the same. 2 corn plants would fool me. But 2 cows, I don't think look the same. I love animal science. I actually, for most of my life, I wanted to be a vet.
Okay, I could see that.
I wanted to be a vet so bad. And I would go to these cattle sales with my dad. We'd be working cattle in the back, and the vets would give me so many opportunities to do cool things that I wouldn't have otherwise. I distinctly remember one of the vets at one of the sale barns. He looked at me, and it was a very cold day, like January, February. He said, do you want to learn to preg check? I was like, oh, okay, sure. He's like, grab a sleeve. And I was like, I looked at my dad and he was like, grab a sleeve. Didn't you hear it? So I was like, okay. And I remember we did 7 heifers that day. And every time he would say, okay, tell me what you feel. Do you feel a calf or, what's going on? And there was one that I checked and I said, I don't feel anything. I think she's a free martin. And he's like, okay, step back. Let me check. And he looked at me and said, you're right. And he was just shocked. And I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. That was pretty fun.
Yep.
And then, of course, I'm like, I could be a vet. No, I can't. No one take offense to that. I cannot.
You might have needed to like school a little bit more to get there, but
why I'm not a vet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the industry side of animal science. I love working cattle. I love working cattle. I think it's so fun. It's very high energy. It's very fast paced. It's just a little bit of a rush, I guess. So that's just something that I've really enjoyed doing. But it's opportunities like working with those vets that have set me up for success in my adult life. Mm-hmm. Because had I not had those opportunities, my life could have gone completely different.
Oh, yeah. You've become such a great resource and advocate for the ag industry, and we are really lucky to have resilient people like you. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Allie. I've had a lot of fun.
I hope everyone walks away from this episode feeling a little bit more encouraged and maybe even challenged. Thank you to all of you for listening. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to share it with a friend, leave us a review, or subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next on the Rural Dispatch. Did you know that you can be a part of the Rural Dispatch too? Whether you've got a question, a story, or just something on your mind, you can leave us a voicemail. We might even play it on a future episode. Head to the link in the show notes and hit record. It's quick, easy, and we would love to hear from you.